Hi, I'm Richard Cheshire, and this is my wife, Freddie. We've lived and cruised the South Pacific aboard the Moira, our 44-foot cutter, since 1975. Of all the island countries we've visited, New Caledonia is by far our favorite. We love cruising here, and because we want other cruisers to enjoy New Caledonia as much as we do, we created the Rocket Cruising Guide to New Caledonia. Let me show you a 10-day cruise plan from Noumea through New Caledonia's Great South Lagoon to the Isle of Pines and back again. 5 days of sailing and 5 days of exploration. The first day is from Noumea to Ilot Mato, 24 nautical miles upwind. The trade winds pick up after 9 o'clock, so it's best to leave at dawn to arrive just before lunch. Enter Ilot Mato's small lagoon through a 5-meter deep channel on the south side of the island. Shallow reefs protect the anchorage from winds from any direction. But if winds over 20 knots are expected from the south or southwest, be sure the anchor is well dug in. The bottom is sand with good holding in depths of 5 to 10 meters. You need to be very careful not to drop the hook where your anchor or chain will damage the corals. You're going to love Ilot Mato. Enjoy the beautiful beach down at the southern end of the island. Fabulous soft white sand beaches. Or the beach at the north end of the island. You can take a walk up to the top of the hill and get a panoramic view of the anchorage. Snorkeling in the calm, clear lagoon water is fantastic. This gigantic coral head, thousands of years old, is on the north side of the big coral shoal in the center of the anchorage. Ilot Mato's fringing reefs have an amazing variety of colorful fish and corals in water depths of less than a meter. Here is an example of why you need to be extremely careful not to drop your anchor or anchor chain on the dark coral reef patches scattered about the inner lagoon. You do not want to destroy these delicate corals. But don't worry, there's plenty of room to anchor clear of the coral patches. Spend the day exploring the coral reefs surrounding the anchorage and getting to know some of the more interesting lagoon inhabitants. The next morning, exit through the Southeast Pass and sail 10 nautical miles to Ilot Yua. Anchor anywhere along the northwest coast of Ilot Yua in 5 to 10 meters of water. The bottom is white sand with scattered coral patches. Be careful not to drop your anchor on the coral or let your anchor chain drag over them. Ilot Yua's brilliant white soft beach is unforgettably beautiful. And if you're there during the week and not on a holiday, you'll probably have it all to yourself, with the exception of the seabirds. Yua's fringing coral reefs are a sheer joy to snorkel over. The water just the right temperature and crystal clear. This is the reef on the northwest end of the island. And here is the reef on the southwest end of the island. In the afternoon, up anchor and sail through the Southwest Pass 5 nautical miles to Ilot Kawari to spend the night. You can find shelter from winds from any direction at Kawari, but only by changing anchorages. This is the anchorage for typical southeast to southwest trade winds. 6 to 7 meters of white sand, excellent holding, 4 meters of water right up to the fringing reef. This is the anchorage for west or southwest winds, 7 to 9 meters of water, white sand. And this is the anchorage for northeast to southeast winds. You can anchor anywhere along the west coast of Kawari in 4 to 9 meters of water. As always, avoid anchoring in the dark patches because they are fragile corals. The easiest access to the beach is on the southwest end of the island. Ilot Kawari, like many other islets in New Caledonia's lagoon, is a bird sanctuary. If there is a red flag flying on the island, the birds are nesting, and you must not go ashore or disturb them with loud noises. As in Yua, snorkeling on the coral reefs around Ilot Kawari is magnificent. Here is a look at the corals on the east side of the reef, just to the north of Kawari, about a 5-minute dinghy ride from the anchorage. This is the reef on the southeast side of Kawari. Just a glimpse of the fun to be had here. You might want to spend an extra day enjoying the beach and the reefs. In the morning, exit through the South Pass, sail 38 nautical miles to Kuto anchorage on the Isle of Pines. Anchor anywhere your draft allows outside the turning basin for the ships approaching the main wharf, and do not anchor near either of the wharfs. Holding this excellent in white sand, the 2-meter depth contour runs about 100 meters off the beach. Isle of Pines is a popular tourism destination, and there are lots of fun things to do here. If you're into trekking, follow the trail from Kuto up to the top of Mount Naga. The trail is 2 kilometers long and starts 1.5 kilometers from the dinghy wharf. It's an uphill climb, but only steep in a couple of places. You'll be rewarded with a panoramic view of the Isle of Pines. Noumea Beach, just a short walk from Kuto anchorage, was recently voted the most popular beach in Isle of Pines. But I personally think Kuto Beach is even more beautiful, and it's right there next to the anchorage. To check out the tourism activities for Isle of Pines, you'll need to open the Rocket Travel Guide to New Caledonia. Click on What to Do, and then on the Isle of Pines. And then on Tours. The most popular tour, not to be missed, is a sail in Baie de Prony on a traditional pirogue. This is an excellent community-created tourism activity with many benefits for the people of the villages and the environment. Point to the sites on this page of the Rocket Travel Guide to see the most interesting places to visit. Just north of the Kuto anchorage, you'll find the massive ruins of a prison colony for 3,000 French exiles, mostly political prisoners, built in the 1880s. Amid the tropical vegetation, you'll find crumbling cell blocks and freestanding buildings, all built from rock by the exiled French prisoners. A few kilometers further on the main road is an impressive water-filled cavern. On the north of the island, explore the cave of Queen Hortense. In the 1800s, the daughter of a local chief hid in the cave during a tribal conflict. She was a popular woman, reportedly the first Melanesian to speak and write in French. She later married the Grand Chief of the islands and became the Queen of Isle of Pines. On the northeast side of the island, you'll find Baie de Oro's impressive 1-kilometer-long beach. The Cooney Beach restaurant is perfect for a lunch with a cold brew of French wine. Before continuing down a 1.5-kilometer forest path to a small enclosed seawater lagoon called the Piscine Naturelle, the natural swimming pool. It's surrounded by the towering pine trees that give the Isle of Pines its name. Vau is the biggest village on the Isle of Pines and the government center. It has a village market and artwork merging traditional and Christian art. One of the most impressive buildings in Vau is the Our Lady of the Assumption Church. Built in 1860, it is a fine example of South Pacific missionary architecture. You can rent a car, hire a minibus, or even ride your own bicycle to visit these sites. On the 7th day, sail from Kuto 70 nautical miles downwind to Baie de Prony. The Baie de Prony is a large bay with lots of anchorages and interesting wilderness walks. Sail into the eastern bay and tie up to a Cap Nadua Nature Reserve mooring in Anse Magique. The next morning, follow a forested trail from Anse Magique to Cap Nadua Lighthouse and the whale watching facility. The lighthouse was first built in 1892 for safe passage through the Havana Canal. It's a 4.5-kilometer trek there and back, and generally takes about 2 hours. In the afternoon, it's just a short sail to Ilot Casy Nature Reserve. Tie up to one of the park moorings on the west or north side of Ilot Casy and enjoy a historically interesting 3-kilometer trek around the island. The walk begins at the park wharf. It's a well-marked trail with signs describing the historical points of interest. This was the freshwater well, and here is the cemetery. There's a nice beach on the windward side of Casy, and the path winds through a forest of ancient cycad trees, past another beach to a barren, rocky plateau, down to the north coast forest, back up to an overlook, and down to a shaded beach on the northwest coast, and then up to another overlook, and finally returns to the park wharf. The next morning, it's just a 20-minute sail to Baie de la Somme. On the way there, you'll pass the famous Prony Needle, a pinnacle of calcite rising from 35 meters to just 1.6 meters. The thermal vent is a nature reserve and one of New Caledonia's must-do scuba diving sites. Anchor in 10 to 15 meters of muddy sand on the southwest side of Baie de la Somme. Tie the dinghy to a floating wharf on the north shore and follow a 1-kilometer historic trail to Prony Village, the site of a prison colony from 1867 to 1911. The trail is marked and there are signs with historic information along the trail. This is the guard cemetery, complete with giant clamshells marking the graves. And after this lookout, you come to the forest where prisoners were buried with no markers on their graves. The prisoners logged the Prony forests for the wood needed for buildings in Noumea. This is the ruins of the materials storehouse. And this was the armory where the guards kept their gunpowder. In the afternoon, sail about 30 minutes to the Caledonia anchorage for a quick visit to the hot springs and the Kawari River cascades, or check out one of the other 3 rivers that flow into the Caledonia anchorage. The 10th day is a 36 nautical mile downwind sail back to Noumea with a stop at Ilot Bailey Special Reserve for a picnic lunch on the beach before sailing back into Noumea Harbor. To plan the perfect cruise for you and your crew, order the Rocket Cruising Guide to New Caledonia. The website address is in a link in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching this video. Come to New Caledonia as soon as you can.